This application I'm building seems to be turning out pretty well. Once I figure out how to secure it, I should be able to host it. But speaking of, how do I even figure out what to protect against? Are you tired of building web applications you want people to use, but don't know the first thing about cybersecurity? Wait a minute, who are you? Do you want a trustworthy place to start looking for what to protect against? Yeah, sure, but how did you get in here? Well, boy, do I have something for you. Introducing the OWASP Top 10. Provided by the Open Web Application Security Project, or OWASP Foundation, the OWASP Top 10 lists the most critical vulnerabilities in web applications, each ranked according to their severity. That actually sounds pretty helpful, yeah. Out of curiosity though, how does OWASP create this list? My, what a good question. And a convenient way to introduce the topic for this cyber talk. Similar to how technology is always evolving and different techniques are developed, the top 10 is modified every few years to reflect those constantly changing vulnerabilities. OWASP uses two means of gathering this information: a call for organizations to submit data they've collected regarding web app vulnerabilities, and a survey allowing people to vote on what they think the highest risks that might not be represented are. When they go through the data that organizations submit, they look for incidence rate instead of frequency data. In other words, they look out for how many applications have been affected by at least one instance of a vulnerability type, as opposed to how many times it happens. This is because certain types of tools will constantly attempt to find every instance of the vulnerability it's testing for, creating high finding counts and thus skewing data. Once this data is gathered, 8 of the top 10 are produced. However, there is a slight downside to the data collection process for the top 10. The data is incomplete. Because the results are limited to what developers have figured out how to write automated tests for, there are likely recent vulnerabilities within the past couple of years that just haven't been accounted for in the data they've gathered. Hence, the purpose of the survey is to allow the practitioners on the front lines to vote for what they see as the highest risks that might not be represented in that data and may never be. This survey data produces 2 of the top 10. So what would you say is the biggest vulnerability affecting web applications today?
Well, speaking from experience, since I'm a digital rat and all that, my pastime is crawling into the servers of various websites and then nibbling the code just enough to cause some downtime.
So, digital rat attacks. Okay. That's interesting. The person before you also said the same thing? So it's a little concerning.
I don't need to worry about it.
I see. Well, thank you for your time. After all 10 risks are determined, a new list is drafted and released to review. Thereupon, people can raise issues and make decisions, all recorded via GitHub issues. Once a consensus is reached, the OWASP Top 10 is released. I'm sorry, can you explain to me one more time why digital rat attacks is on the list? There's a concerning increase in frequency as well as severity. I just witnessed one last week, actually. There was code everywhere. It was really brutal. We can't ignore this. Noted. Seems valid to me. Anyone object? Alright, let's publish this then. This seems like a pretty great resource. I'll get started using this. Thanks. Hold it. Just so you know, this is only meant to be a starting point of what to guard against. For larger applications, you want to use the OWASP application security verification standard, but that's best left for another day. Well, thanks, Random B. I'll keep that in mind. No problem, random young adult. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have more people to help. That was really weird. Oh well, time to implement this.